remain aloof, like we have no close relation. Love is my torment, and I'll take when I can, but I'll give in the moment when you are my woman and I am your man. And I watched her making her first daisy chain as her nipples hung hard in suggestion. Naked, nabbed, bitten, we drifted the plain in the hazy desert of sensation. We dreamt of all the loves we'd known. We never thought of the sorrow. With forelocks wound on the primrose down in the wood by the empty long barrow. Two silver green flies to flicker the backdropping lush of the emerald springtime, to lust for a moment in love of another as dust on a dragonfly's wing. And love is my torment, and I'll take when I can, but I'll give in the moment when you are my woman and I am your man. And the black cap sings and the forest rings, the nettles tore around me with shafts of sun, moving things, and poems fast and slowly, and fantasies of luscious thirst, renew lust and fresh waters to seek it, like diamonds set in realities of skies drawn back in secret. But somewhere out there was my heart in her care, and her prayers in the breezes that caught them. She sits like the earth as I fly to her arms, like the showering yellows of autumn. And love is no torment, for we'll give when we can, and we'll live for the moment when she is my woman and I am her man.
Wonderful stuff. That was Commune from the man who inspired Jimmy Page to write Hats Off to Harper. He sang lead vocals on Pink Floyd's Have a Cigar, and he's now celebrating 30 years as one of Britain's most original, best connected and undervalued singer-songwriters. Big Bridge, welcome to Roy Harper. Roy, thanks very much for coming in.
Well, thank you, Big Bridge. It's 28 years.
28 years, OK.
Yeah.
That song, Commune, that's a new song?
No, it's 1972.
Oh, it's an old song.
Yes.
And what's it about?
Well, it's about a few different girlfriends. One of them was Swedish, and I took a journey with her to the North Cap, right to the northernmost point of Europe, and we had all sorts of adventures on the way, and you know, we got sick on blueberries in Lapland and all kinds of stuff, and looked over the cliff at the North Cap, and where there's the sign that points and says the North Pole. It's about 1,000 miles to the North Pole, and in the middle of the journey back, I was called home to partake in a film. And I didn't know whether I should leave or not. And I still don't know whether I should have left.
And out of that uncertainty, the song came?
Yeah, but well, no, the song is also about another girl who was...
Now, you're bragging a bit here, Roy, aren't you?
Well... No, I'm not, Robert. No. Bring him on. I think there's been many. Yeah. There will be many more, hopefully. It's not sort of a foregone conclusion.
For our younger viewers who might be unfamiliar with your extremely illustrious past, how do you come to be friendly with so many people like the ones we've mentioned?
I'm glad you shortcutted that one. It's sort of a bit out of hand there, talking about my women.
Didn't want to embarrass you.
No, yeah, well, carry on then.
People like Jimmy Page, David Gilmour, Kate Bush has sung on your albums. You've obviously mingled with some extremely famous people. You're not now so well known yourself, but clearly you've got an immensely
I've been in the blender.
You've got a very respected pedigree. How did you actually come to be so friendly with these people?
I think it's different courses, different horses. I think Robert was a fan when he was 16, 17.
Robert Plant?
Yeah. So that was easy. He got on a stage with me at Dudley Town Hall when he was 17.
Oh, right.
And he couldn't do a blind thing, but it was... I wondered who this tall, imposing young lad was who couldn't do a thing.
Did he have the curly blonde hair at the time?
Yeah.
Wow.
I got to know Jimmy through Robert, of course. And I grew up with the Pink Floyd because we had the same manager. When Dave was in his teens. I don't think he can remember that far back. I don't think I can either. And Kate's brothers played my music. Yeah. She grew up with my music. Yeah. So,
And you were very much a sort of product of the British folk scene of the 60s in the first instance.
I was a product of my own mania. I was a sort of grammar school dropout, beatnik. Yeah. I travelled on my thumb to the length and breadth of Europe, and I was anything but British, really. I mean, I am manifestly. I know an awful lot about the Brits, but I've earned money on the streets in Milan, Rome, Stockholm, Copenhagen. A lot of money I've earned in Copenhagen on the street. And, run dope from Morocco to Stockholm. Done all sorts of things like that. East to west as well. Got stopped on the Syrian border because they wanted 3 pints of blood. And I don't have 3 pints of blood, look.
When was this?
60... Plenty.
60 plenty, right. And the folk scene, the British folk scene of the 60s, which obviously influenced Robert Plant and to a certain extent David Gilmour, how did that change when the 70s came around and the bands got bigger?
Well, my first influences as a kid came through Lonnie Donegan. And that might sound really odd, but I think that's where a lot of us started. Because what a lot of us did was to refer to the writers of the songs that he was singing. And the writers of the songs, in my particular, the songs I went for were Southern Country Black Blues. So that I then began very quickly, as like a 13, 14-year-old, began to listen to things like Leadbelly, Sonny Terry, Brownie McGee, and Josh White, and people like that. And I'd learnt those songs, and I was singing when I first started to sing songs, I was singing things like St James Infirmary, and then I got into Woody Guthrie, and also into Cisco Houston and Pete Seeger and people like that on the white side of things, and it all became mixed up. And I was writing poems at night. I was singing on the street in the day, writing poems at night. And it wasn't until I was about 21 or 22 that I combined the two of them. And I think that I was more influenced by John Keats than by... You see, a lot of us boys that were listening to that stuff then, like I suspect Eric, and Jimmy as well, went up to the urban stuff, the Chicago things, Muddy Waters and, you know, that whole urban blues thing.
Oh.
But whereas I'd stayed with the more acoustic, folky,
Are you glad you did that?
Stuff.
That you stayed acoustic?
Well, it's not a case of being glad. It's a predisposition. I think I was always more wordy than I was into. Of course, I was into rhythm. Of course, it was important. It was the rhythmic side was very important. But for me, the lyrical side was always more important. And what happened to me is the same as all of us. What happened to us was that we anglicised North American folk music and re-exported it to North America.
And you're still doing it, Roy. You're in the middle of a tour. I'm afraid we've got to leave it there. The tour is carrying on almost till Christmas, I think.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's about right.
Yeah. Anyway, great. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you, Robert.
A quick reminder of something you can see on our sister channel, MTV, on Thursday night, the first ever European Music Awards, live from the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin. I'll be there, and you can see our special bridge report over the weekend. Music coming up from Suede. They're touring early next year, but you can see them here now with The Wild Ones.